Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 111 of our WWE 2022 Save and TEW 2020. This is Raw for March, week 3. And I know it's been about a week and a half or so, I guess, since our last WWE episode. But you guys know, if you subscribe to the channel, you know we've been doing the TCW series in the C-Verse. And so we've had a lot of fun with that and kind of getting caught up on the AEW series as well. But the flagship here, the WWE Save, continues as we are now only several shows away from WrestleMania. So we will, we're not that far away from WrestleMania now. I know it's taken a little while to get there, but I hope you guys that are new to the series have been enjoying going back and checking out the backlog here in the WWE series. But we are on to Raw for March week 3, and we start with the pre-show as it is Ricochet getting the win over Shane Thorne, 649. 59 for the match. Ricochet's gimmick is getting stale. Steve Austin is not going to like that. Probably going to get an email about it after the show, but we do still have the hot new move bonus for Ricochet, so that's worth noting. Yeah, poor Ricochet has gone from being one half of the tag team champions with Jeff Hardy in our Enigma tag team back on the pre-show here, but you guys knew what happened. He came back onto Steve Austin's brand. Austin can't stand him, so he's putting him back on the pre-show here, but he gets a win. And more to come from Ricochet here after WrestleMania. Sorry, Ricochet, you're probably not going to be on the WrestleMania card, but we'll have more to come from you after WrestleMania. All right, let's jump into the main show itself, and it starts here with a very angry Christian as we get an 86 to start things off here, as we started off with Edge and Christian making their way to Steve Austin's office, and it is Christian kind of jumping in before Edge can even say anything. And that is when Christian demands that Steve Austin do something about Daniel Bryan. And, of course, last week, kind of on our previous episode, it was all about the baby faces getting their revenge on Raw, as it was, tag team-wise, all sorts of stuff. But it was also Daniel Bryan kind of going after Edge and Christian and also the Bullet Club, which we'll talk about here in just a second. So Christian wants Austin to do something about Daniel Bryan. He said he has put in jeopardy this main event, night one WrestleMania match with Daniel Bryan defending the WWE title against Edge and AJ Styles. And so Christian yelling for Austin to do something about Daniel Bryan. And that is when Austin says he is going to do something about Daniel Bryan. And that tonight, Edge, Christian are going to be in action as they're going to take on Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, and Daniel Bryan, our WWE champion, in a 6-man tag. And that is when Christian's like, well, hold on a second, you said me and Christian. And here comes Randy Orton as Orton walks in, and Christian now has turned his anger from Steve Austin to Randy Orton. As Christian wants to know, where were you? We got attacked last week by Daniel Bryan. You were nowhere to be found. When you come around, it seems that I take an RKO. And so Christian's going off on Orton. That causes Edge to get in the middle of him. You see Austin kind of standing behind, smiling here, knowing the dissension continues between these three. And so we have a 6-man tag officially set. And that is when Christian, is still just bickering back and forth with Randy Orton. Orton not really giving an answer as to where he was. But then Edge turns to Austin and says, you know what, Steve, that's fine. We'll get our revenge that way. But I don't want, AJ Styles and the Bullet Club getting involved because we'll take them out too if we have to, because this is all about me getting my WWE Championship back. And that is when Austin tells Edge and the entire group here that the Bullet Club have been banned from the arena for tonight. So Austin says they're banned, and he also points out that next week, Daniel Bryan is also going to be in action in a 6-man tag, as the Bullet Club will be in action next week with Bryan having a different pair of partners, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So a lot in motion here, but we only have 2 episodes to go before WrestleMania for Raw, so we have to put a lot in place. But we know our main event, Edge, Christian, Orton taking on Daniel Bryan and the Street Profits. So 86 to start things off here, tension everywhere, just a lot of anger. However, afterwards, we go to the ringside announce table, and we hear that Michael Cole, as basically saying, folks, I'm telling you that I am revealing this new match that has been signed by Steve Austin for tonight's edition of Raw. And he says it is going to be Rhea Ripley, our Raw Women's Champion, teaming up with Becky Lynch to take on Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks. A blockbuster tag team match has been signed for tonight. So we've got our main event. We've got this match, which could serve as a main event. So a lot at stake here, as we've got, certainly Rhea's going to take on Sasha Banks for the title. Becky's taking on Ronda Rousey. So the four kind of team up in different entities here to go up against each other. So that match is officially signed for Raw here tonight. So 81 for this segment. Speaking of tag team matches on the women's side, I don't think this one could main event. As it gets to 37, probably one of our worst matches we've had on the main card here. But, to be expected, I think, because we did mark this as storytelling. We have to have that on each one. In hindsight, I may have went with another one, but nonetheless, we go with storytelling here for this one. As it is, Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan getting the win over Jacy Jayne and Gigi Dolan, so we bring them up for another tag team spot here from NXT, 522, so pretty, basically we're kind of hyping this as the first match back for the Riott squad here, as Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan teaming back up for the first time since Ruby returned. We had the 6-woman tags with Toni Storm in there, but this is their first official tag team match, and as we know now, they're going to challenge our tag team champions, Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville, for the titles at WrestleMania. So we're kind of pushing their teamwork here. They pick back up right where they left off, so they get a nice win here over the NXT duo of Jacy Jayne and Gigi Dolan. So let's get to 37. Not great. Cool the crowd, but again, it's fine. After the match, here come the champions. So we have Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville. They make their way out, and they try to attack to get the advantage on the challengers. However, this is where we're, again, pushing the teamwork and the chemistry between Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan as they are able to fight off the champions, and they throw Baszler and Deville out of the ring, and our challengers stand tall here. So, again, we're kind of pushing, obviously, a dominant tag team with Baszler and Deville. They've been the champions since August, but we're also pushing the chemistry here between Riott and Morgan really picking up again right where they left off, before, and so kind of pushing that, hey, maybe this is the team. They've got their number here in terms of the chemistry, so we know that's kind of your setup here. So Baszler and Deville sent retreating as the challengers stand tall. So 58 here for this one as we head towards that match at WrestleMania. All right, speaking of WrestleMania matches, Pat McAfee is with the trio of Rey, Dominic, and Angel Garza. And McAfee, asked Rey what his thoughts are about this special, WrestleMania showcase match, which is going to be a 6-man tag with these three teaming up to take on Gran Metalik, Lince Dorado, and Humberto Carrillo, and sort of the Lucha Libre showcase that we're going to have at WrestleMania. And Rey just says, he's honored to be able to celebrate, the rich tradition of Lucha Libre at WrestleMania, and points out that he thanks Angel Garza for going to Steve Austin, getting this match put together, and he's excited to be able to be in the ring with his son, Dominic, and really, push the legacy and the future of Lucha Libre. And Rey makes it clear, he is specifically looking at the future. He knows he's not going to be wrestling much longer, and that this is a very important match to be able to showcase the future of this great tradition in professional wrestling. So Rey really pushing the importance of this match and just, kind of sort of a legacy type thing here, knowing that he's not going to be wrestling that much longer. So really pushing kind of the uniqueness of this match. So that's our special showcase match we'll have at WrestleMania 65 for the angle. But McAfee also says, what do you think about your opponent tonight? Austin Theory, who has specifically, requested another match after getting just steamrolled by Big E last week. Theory's requested a match, saying that he's going to prove himself, and Rey just says he's got a long way to go to be able to prove himself as one of the top stars here on Raw. So 65 for this one. That leads us into the match, and it is going to be Rey Mysterio getting the win over Austin Theory, 742. The 619 into the West Coast Pop does it, so 66 for the match. Good stuff here. Remember, Theory's kind of in that point, as we said before, coming up from NXT. His overness is still, I think, like in the mid-30s, something like that. So remember, it's sort of a different time from when we started the save to where things are in reality. But so Rey gets the win, and we're kind of pushing that Theory's just kind of pissed off here because he keeps losing to some of these top stars, and you'll see that theme continue here moving forward. So that is a big win for Rey Mysterio, and now we have McAfee back there with another group here, and it is our challengers for our men's tag team championships, as Cesaro and Sheamus are going to challenge the Lucha Bros for the undisputed tag team titles at WrestleMania. We saw Cesaro and Sheamus win the 4-team mini tournament last week, as they were able to get the win over the Street Profits in the finals. And so Cesaro and Sheamus moving on to challenge for the championships. And McAfee just asked, you guys are back now in sort of the tag team picture here, and you're getting a shot at the titles. And that is when we just kind of hear Sheamus just pointing out that, hey, we both know we had our opportunities in singles action. We had our chance at some of the top titles, but we came up short. So now we're going to get back to doing what we do best, and that is, being right beside each other's side and really just pushing, that we are the ones that have raised the bar, and we're going to continue to raise the bar as we, go win these tag team championships. So that's kind of what we're pushing here. Is they pointed out again, they came up short in the singles quest, but they're going to get back to doing what they do best, and that's fighting people, teaming up here, and raising the bar like they have as a tag team. So 72 for this one, and just kind of a nice little promo here to push that championship match at WrestleMania. All right, we have Bayley here and Toni Storm, which we set up last week on this edition, on last week's edition of Raw. And we have Bayley getting the win over Toni Storm with the Bayley to belly suplex. So, we have Toni Storm coming off of sort of not a hard split, I guess you could say, with Liv Morgan now that Ruby Riot's back in the fold, but we kind of saw Toni Storm kind of venture off on her own now. We know she's going to be in the Women's Money in the Bank match, so is Bayley, and this is Bayley just kind of getting the upper hand with the win here on Toni Storm. So kind of pushing this. There were some initial thoughts I have of giving Toni Storm the win here, but the popularity difference is still pretty extreme between these two. Because remember, Toni Storm was coming up from NXT too, even though we've used her for, 6 months or so now in game time. But yeah, I think it was going to be a hard sell to have Bayley lose to Toni Storm, given the popularity gap between those two. And Toni Storm has the injury, so that's not helped. Bayley off her game, but still gets a 64. So we'll take it there for that. But it's Bayley getting the win with a little momentum heading towards the Women's Money in the Bank. And as we know, these are the only two representatives from Raw in our 9-woman Women's Money in the Bank match that will take place at WrestleMania. It's just because we had so many options on SmackDown. So the other 7 competitors all coming from SmackDown. So Bayley with the win here over Toni Storm. All right, now we get another 86 segment here. Good stuff. And it is Steve Austin, and he has someone else coming in to visit him, and it is Big E. As Austin just says, Big E, I know, if it were up to you, tonight would be WrestleMania. You and Brock Lesnar and beat the holy hell out of each other. But it's not. And you're going to have to continue to be patient, because I know all you want to do is get in the ring and beat the hell out of Brock Lesnar. Unfortunately, I wanted to be the one to tell you that Mick Foley, by request of your New Day, member there, Xavier Woods, has officially granted a match for Xavier Woods to take on Brock Lesnar on this week's edition of SmackDown. So, Austin kind of revealing the news that it is going to be Brock Lesnar versus Xavier Woods. Of course, this is all coming off of everything that happened at No Way Out, where Lesnar just kind of took it to Kofi Kingston. Kingston's been out since then. And so Big E just kind of looks at Steve Austin. You can see Big E starting to get a little angry, and Big E says absolutely nothing and just walks off after hearing that his partner, Xavier Woods, is going to have to go one-on-one with Brock Lesnar. Remember, Big E is a Raw competitor, so officially not legally allowed into the building on SmackDown. So there you go. What will happen as Brock takes on Xavier Woods here only, a week or so out from WrestleMania. So 86 for this one, as, yes, we're heading towards the big showdown at WrestleMania, but Big E, another roadblock potentially with Brock. So, all right, now we get to Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch making their way to the ring. The huge tag team match that had been signed earlier on in the show. We heard that. 85 for this segment as they make their way to the ring. What a duo here, right? The two that met in the finals of the Mae Young Classic. That ultimately led to Rhea Ripley winning the tournament, getting the Raw Women's Championship back from Bayley. And now these two are going to team up ahead of their 2 matches. They're going to have huge women's matches at WrestleMania. So here they are in the ring. And, well, the music hits of Sasha Banks. And Sasha Banks is nowhere to be found. The music continues to play. There's no Sasha Banks. Still no Sasha Banks. And so Becky, Rhea Ripley just looking at each other, just kind of staring at each other, trying to figure out what's going on here. And then we get Ronda Rousey's music. So this gets an 82 as Ronda makes her way out and she says, well, it looks like I don't have a partner for tonight. And she said, I could come in the ring and beat both of you, but I won't. And of course, that gets a boo from the crowd. And Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, they've been ready to fight this whole time. And Ronda says, I'm not stupid. I'm not coming in the ring to face both of you. I don't know where my partner's at. I don't care where my partner's at. All I care about is ripping your arm from your body, Becky Lynch. And that's when Ronda just kind of says, that's exactly what I'm going to do at WrestleMania. And then Ronda turns around and goes to walk off, but then she turns back around and says, and then I'm going to do it to you, Rhea Ripley. And so Ronda Rousey taking aim at the Raw Women's Champion here, saying she's going to rip Becky's arm off, and then she's going to do it to perhaps our Raw Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley. So Ronda, kind of setting her sights here on the top two baby faces in our women's division, but making it clear that she's going, she's looking beyond Becky Lynch at this point. She may have her sights set on that Raw Women's title and Rhea Ripley. So 82 for the segment, as we said. No match. Sorry to disappoint that we did not get this tag team match, but the reason why, there's no Sasha Banks. Where is Sasha Banks? She's not here. So we'll see what happens perhaps with that moving forward. All right, we are going to have a match here, though, between Keith Lee and Robert Roode, as Keith Lee, in a non-title match here, gets the win over Roode. With Spirit Bomb does it. 70 overall for this one. Good in-ring work from Keith Lee, 73. So our Intercontinental Champion gets a nice win here, as we know he's going to defend that title against Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. And that leads us to the after, segment here. And 87, that was our best segment so far on the show. So we have Kevin Owens watching Keith Lee from ringside. Last week it was reverse. We had Lee kind of sitting ringside, scouting the match between Kevin Owens and Shelton Benjamin. Now we've got Kevin Owens ringside, sort of scouting this win here for Keith Lee. So these two continue kind of from afar here. Remember, Owens gave Lee the stunner, but they've kind of stayed apart since then. And so Owens kind of watching Lee here as these two continue to sort of have their stare down from afar, as they will have that Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. So 87 overall for this one. Then we get Pat McAfee with this group of Kurt Angles here that came up short last week in our mini tag team tournaments. They had their opportunity, but got screwed out of it, basically, by the Bullet Club, who, were kind of involved with this, and we all know kind of the attack the week before from the Bullet Club that took out Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. But McAfee asked, you guys came up a little short last week. Obviously, there was some involvement from the Bullet Club, but Angle just says, you know what? Hang on a second, Pat. We're not going to make excuses. We're not going to blame anybody for what happened to us last week in that opportunity. And he says, we're going to bounce back, and that's what I've been teaching these guys. We've been watching the tape. We're going to bounce right back tonight, and we're going to need another win. But Kurt Angle says, we're not going to leave it there, because no, we're not going to get the shot at the Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania. But we are in a mood to where we want our payback. We want our revenge. And so that is when Angle kind of steps up here. We get the fiery Kurt Angle back here, as Angle just starts yelling at AJ Styles. Then he starts yelling at Adam Cole and Finn Balor and says, if those two guys want to play around, then we're not going to sit back and sort of take it from them. We are challenging Adam Cole and Finn Balor to a tag team match at WrestleMania, and we know they're not here tonight to accept. And I don't even know if they're, man enough to accept the challenge here, but we are officially laying down the challenge. You're not going to take this away from us and get away, basically get away with it, is what Angle's saying. So Angle issuing the challenge here on the behalf of American Alpha that they're going to challenge Adam Cole and Finn Balor for a tag team match at WrestleMania. Given the back and forth between these two, it's been going on for 2 months now, with Styles getting involved here, and we had Angle kind of getting a little revenge on them on the previous episode of Raw, but then kind of just all kind of chaos here, as we know, between the Bullet Club and American Alpha and Kurt Angle. So Angle throwing down the gauntlet here for Cole and Balor to challenge American Alpha at WrestleMania. We won't get a response tonight because we know they're banned from the building, but that challenge has been laid down. So let's see what happens with that. But as we said, they are going to be in action match-wise. It is American Alpha getting the win over Morrison and Benjamin here. 8-16, Jason Jordan gets the pin on John Morrison. 69, nice rating for this one. Benjamin off his game. We get the chemistry bonuses here from American Alpha, so that helps. Good in-ring work, as we say, from Chad Gable. Still doing good stuff there. Morrison's still pretty good. Jason Jordan not that far behind. So Alpha gets the win, and we'll see what that leads to, as we said, with the challenge thrown down to two of the members of the Bullet Club for WrestleMania. All right, now we get an 85 for this segment here, as we are getting ready for our main events, our big six-man tag team match, and it is Daniel Bryan with the Street Profits. And Bryan just sort of looking at the Profits here. They're backstage getting ready for their match. And look, Bryan says, I know there's a little tension here, given, our one-on-one match a couple weeks ago, Montez, but I just want you to know, you gave me everything you had. And you know what? I just happened to be the better man that day. But that's not always going to be the case. And that's when we kind of get sort of a speech here from Bryan talking about how he knows that they're disappointed, that they didn't win, the tag team tournament last week, and they won't be getting a shot at the tag team championships at WrestleMania. And as of right now, they're not even on the card for WrestleMania. But he wants the Street Profits to realize their worth. He wants them to understand that they are doing everything that they can do to kind of, continue to raise their profile here and get their shot at championships and kind of just continue to sort of get the spotlight that we've seen from these two, specifically Montez Ford, in getting some of these singles matches. And that's when Bryan just sort of makes it clear that tonight, guys, I want you to bounce back. I want you to go take what is yours, and I want you to show some of that aggression that I've seen from you guys before, and specifically what I saw from you, Montez, in that match against me for the WWE Championship, several weeks ago. So it's Bryan just kind of giving a rally here to these two guys who, again, were very visibly disappointed. We saw that at the end of last week's Raw with Ford just kind of holding his hands in his head, and just sort of wondering what's next. Because, as I said, these guys are not on the WrestleMania card. And so Bryan sort of pushing that they need to show some aggression here in this main event match. So we'll see if that happens. 85 for this one, as we are going to head into this six-man tag team match. And it begins with two guys starting to fight against each other, and these two guys have been fighting against each other for months now. 91 for this segment, as it is Daniel Bryan and Edge. So as soon as the bell rings here, we have Daniel Bryan and Edge just going at it. They can't wait just to go off on each other. Remember, we saw Bryan get his revenge on all the heels last week, going after him with chairs. And so it's just been the back and forth between these two guys, and of course AJ Styles involved. But Bryan and Edge going at it. So these two just continue to fight. They're not even the legal men at this point. They're just fighting each other, and they start to fight on the outside. And ultimately, it's Daniel Bryan and Edge fighting their way to the back. So these two guys are essentially out of the picture. And that leaves, on one side, the Street Profits, and on the other side, it leaves Randy Orton and Christian. So this is kind of what we have. These two guys are fighting their way to the back. Christian's looking back, wondering where did they go. Everyone's trying to figure out, are they coming back to the match? Well, they don't. And so this gets a 91 for this one. And then, an 87 segment here, Christian turns around and he realizes that Edge is not coming back. So he goes over, he tags in Randy Orton. So Randy Orton, kind of a hard tag here from Christian. Orton slowly makes his way into the ring, and Orton, just as he walks by Christian to go towards Montez Ford on the opposite side, Christian immediately turns around, and that is when Christian hits Randy Orton with the unprettier before Christian just gets out of the ring and throws his hands up and basically says, I'm not doing this with you, not at all. So Christian refusing, not even for a single second, after Edge is out of the equation here, Bryan and Edge are nowhere to be found. Christian refusing to tag with Randy Orton, and after Orton has, kind of given some back and forth with Christian in terms of hitting him with RKOs out of nowhere and those kind of things, they've tried to stay on the same page for Edge. Didn't happen here. Christian's had enough. He hits Orton with the unprettier, and then 87 overall for this segment. I don't even know what's the dialogue. I don't know what they said. We may have set this as entertainment or something. But that is when we get to the actual finish of the match. 84, so pretty good match here, all things considered, for the six-man tag. So it is Montez Ford. I know it said he pinned Christian, but I know we set that as Randy Orton, actually, for the pin here. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I just didn't save it when I made the change. But I think initially we may have had Christian as the person taking the pin, but we did change the storyline a little bit. So Montez Ford, we're going to say pin Randy Orton. So we're going to kind of push that here as the finish. Is Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, a little double team action after the unprettier on Orton, and it's Montez Ford pinning Randy Orton here for this main event, and a big win for that. Look at this, Daniel Bryan with a 96 on the in-ring performance. So even though we pushed it as Bryan was never really in the match, 96, we're going to take that for the in-ring performance. But Edge with an 86, so you gotta hats off here. I mean, really the entire group, right? I mean, look at this. Ford's up to a 71. His in-ring performances have gotten better. Orton with a 79. Christian's not bad here. Dawkins' in-ring performances have improved. So, yeah, I mean, this is with Ford off his game. Edge with the gimmick that's getting stale. But, yeah, so we'll take this as an 84 for a main event here. As it is, Montez Ford getting a pin on Randy Orton. Ignore this. As Christian has finally had enough. And, we've seen Christian just being pissed off at Orton for months now. He's had enough. Hits the unprettier. You guys probably know what this is leading to. And I know it's taken a while to actually announce it, but I think you knew what this was going to lead to, WrestleMania-wise, probably a couple months ago in terms of the direction we were taking. So that is how we finish up the main event. But we're not done, because if you were wondering where Edge and Daniel Bryan went, well, they just kept on fighting. And they continued to fight all the way into the parking lot. And as you guys know now, there is nowhere on Monday Night Raw that is more dangerous than the parking lot, because we have had so many memorable moments that have taken place in the parking lot. Big E and Lesnar throwing each other into cars. We've had, full-on brawls out there. Steve Austin set up Steve Weisers and just sat in the parking lot waiting for the next kind of bit of chaos. But now there's more, because Bryan and Edge fight their way into the parking lot. 84 for the segment, and then who comes out of nowhere? Well, it's the people who were banned from the building. They were not banned from the parking lot. As here comes AJ Styles, Adam Cole, and Finn Balor. The Bullet Club are here. Edge and Bryan fighting each other, but then it is Styles, Cole, and Balor who start going at the two other members of the main event match, Edge and Daniel Bryan, and they start to haul off on these guys. No one else is out there. It's just, these two alone, and the Bullet Club kind of make their attack until eventually, which we don't have them on the screen here, it's Christian making his way out to the parking lot and seeing, with these guys already out of the picture, Christian makes his way out to check on, Edge, and that is how we leave it here to end this edition of Raw. So 84, the Bullet Club kind of, play Steve Austin here, who banned him from the building, did not ban him from the parking lot, and they get the last laugh after these two fight their way into the parking lot. So Styles getting an advantage here on Bryan and Edge, and the fighting just does not stop between this group. So, as I teased earlier, we kind of get the graphic going off the air here, and it is sort of official what we had teased earlier on with Austin saying that Bryan would have another set of partners next week. And so next week, the main event of Raw is going to be Daniel Bryan teaming with American Alpha, Jason Jordan, and Chad Gable to take on the Bullet Club, AJ Styles, Adam Cole, and Finn Balor. So all of this is kind of set up based on Bryan attacking all these guys. So Austin's like, you know what, I kind of have to, make a match here of each sort. 2 6-man tags leading up to WrestleMania for Daniel Bryan. Even as the WWE champion, hey, he was taking out people with chairs. Austin felt like he needed to do something, and so he set up these 2 6-man tags. But unfortunately, it looks like Bryan going to come into that match less than 100%, as that is kind of your setup here after the attack from the Bullet Club. So an 84 to finish off the show, as we said, gets an 84 overall, thanks to that, nice little segment here. Had some good stuff on the show. I thought, again, pushing a lot of different things, having to tie a lot of things together, and yeah, that's kind of where we stand with the Bullet Club once again standing tall here at the end of a show. But good stuff elsewhere, a lot of storyline development, and look, there's no way I could get everything in that I wanted to before WrestleMania at this point, because 2 shows here. Now we're down to 1 episode of Raw, but we try to push everything forward as much as we can. And so you'll see some official match announcements next week for the Raw side for WrestleMania. You guys already know what a couple of those are going to be based on some of the storyline development, but that's where we stand after this edition of Raw. So there you go. Let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, so that was Raw, and as you can see here, I guess this is St. Patrick's Day. I guess this is the theme you get here. So I love that. That's one of the things I like about TEW is you get kind of the tradition of getting the different stuff, the different visuals on certain holidays and those kind of things. So I can appreciate that. It's the little things that matter, right? So last night's Raw, awesome show, fantastic reviews. So good to know there. Toni Storm back at 100%. So we talked about she had some kind of injury. I think it was an eye injury maybe or something. But yeah, she's back to being fully fit. Looks like Ty Conti also fully fit in AEW. So there you go for that. Let's see. Jeff Cobb, who's on my short list, he's relocated, so he's in Japan, so he's still in New Japan. Toni Storm recovered injury, as we said. Draft text fees, 4.08 for Raw, so got a lot of viewers watching on the road to WrestleMania here. And so there you have it as we looked at that edition of Raw. But as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, I always appreciate your feedback on the series and everything else on the channel. Be sure to check out all the other stuff we've got, the AEW save, the TCW save, and the C-Verse. Exploring the C-Verse series itself, we're almost to the end of that one. So we've only got several companies to go that we'll look at. So if you want just a full picture of the C-Verse, you can do that. Start at episode 1 and exploring the C-Verse and go all the way through all the starting companies in the series. And so you can check that out. And got some other fun stuff that I've already recorded actually on the channel that'll be up soon enough. So I hope you enjoy those videos. Kind of some new series, not necessarily related to a save. Some of them aren't, but I've got some new kind of fun series in the works I think you guys will have some fun with. So we will look at that as well on the channel, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. And again, we are now only a couple episodes away from WrestleMania, so be sure to check out everything kind of on the road to WrestleMania here, and a lot more fun stuff on the way. So appreciate you guys watching as always, and on the next episode of our WWE 2022 save, it will be SmackDown for March Week 3.